Hi, my name's Ian. I'm an engineer. I'm a dad, and I've been worried about climate change. I've been feeling better lately though, because of this molecule. Um, it's energy dense. We can make it from green power, and it's super useful. So, and when it's consumed, it's just nitrogen and water. I mean, the air is 78% nitrogen. So, I think we're on the path. Uh, I think the technology's there that we're in a good spot. But I was challenged this week. Um, so this molecule, it's ammonia. Some people will call it nitrogen power. Um, and we don't think of it as a fuel. Uh, and so I was challenged this week. So somebody said to me, they were talking about um, hydrogen buses. Okay. And it is a hydrogen fuel cell a significantly better technology than a combustion engine that uses green fuel but isn't as efficient. And it really got me thinking. Now, listen, a hydrogen bus or any sort of green fuel bus probably makes more sense than a battery bus. It's I mean, think about the size of the batteries. They would be huge. They'd take forever to fill, charge. Um, Whereas a bus, you can fill up fuel really fast. So also, I mean, this is in Edmonton where it's super cold. So you probably want um, something that works in the cold as opposed to batteries. So a green fuel, cool. But is the fuel cell the killer technology, or is it the green fuel part? Like where are we really getting the benefit? So, I mean, at the same time as we're talking about bringing buses into the fleet, uh, Toyota is struggling to sell this really good hydrogen car they make. Um, they're offering massive discounts on it. They're shutting down fueling stations. Um, what's going on? How if fuel cell technology what's the matter? So maybe it's a supply chain thing, but let's dig in and discuss the efficiency a little bit. Other other technology exists that can burn or consume green fuels. Maybe it's not the same efficiency as the Toyota solution, but again, is that efficiency the killer thing? So this system from Cosworth, and I mean, they make the best, highest revving, most exotic engines in the world. They're the British engineering firm. Um, they have a solution that's light, simple, cheap, no exotic materials. So, not quite the same efficiency. What does that matter? So if we look at a fuel cell, it's not burning fuel. It's just chemically reacting hydrogen and oxygen together, which creates water, gives off some heat, so it's not perfectly efficient, but less heat than combustion, and that creates electricity. And that electricity doesn't actually drive the wheels. There's a battery pack in between, so it's a bit like an EV rather than the charge coming from the batteries. It comes from hydrogen with this fuel cell thing in between. It's neat. It's pretty efficient, right? 60% efficient. Again, gives off heat. The combustion engines, they rev, and so when you're accelerating, your efficiency goes down, but like on average, so if you used it more like a fuel cell, um, they're like 45% efficient. So the fuel cell is more efficient, right? And that combustion engine sure, using gas, but you could combust other things. You could combust hydrogen, you could combust ammonia, right? But then, like, regeneration braking makes a ton of sense. It does. Like, you already have the energy right there. So, like, scavenge it, harvest it. So, your standard, like, Prius is like 60% efficient, right? So, I mean, the difference in hydrogen fuel cell versus combustion, it's not. And then, I mean, hydrogen itself, they compress the heck out of it to get it into a tank. And that compression uses a lot of energy. So that uses like 10% of the energy in the hydrogen to do. So, yeah, it's better, but is that the killer feature? And just for argument's sake, let's compare this to an EV. EVs are not 100% efficient. When you charge an EV, there's waste, there's heat generated charging the batteries. The motor's not perfectly efficient. Edmonton buses, winter really impacts um, your efficiency. So, combined, it's kind of in the same neighborhood as a hybrid. Um, Now, sure, if you're using green electricity to charge it, that's better than using gasoline. But if you're using green power to make hydrogen or ammonia, you're kind of in a similar ballpark. Um, so I think efficiency, I think why it's such a discussion point with hydrogen fuel cell vehicles or EVs is because of the energy content. What do I mean by that? Like the megajoules per liter of a battery is tiny. It's tiny. One battery actually doesn't have that much power in it per volume compared to diesel. It's like 1 megajoule compared to 36 megajoules. And from a pure packaging perspective, how much space can be taken up by batteries or tanks or whatever? And so that means every bit of efficiency in a Tesla gives it more range, gives it more performance. It really matters to them. But you know, you don't really hear the guy driving the big truck talk about how the new tires are like 2% more efficient than his old tires. Like, because it's diesel and the tank's plenty big and it goes, right? So, okay, we talked about the two extremes. In between, hydrogen in a really high pressure tank has like 4.5 joules per liter. So that tank is equivalent to 4 big batteries. Okay. And that tank can be filled, sure. But 4.5 compared to 36, it's still really small, right? And it's a pressure cylinder, so it has to be round. And so that's why efficiency matters so much when you're dealing with hydrogen. Let's talk about another green fuel. Let's talk about ammonia. Well, ammonia is 11.6. So it's a third of the energy of diesel, but it's, almost 3 times the energy of hydrogen. So should you be efficient? Sure. But does it matter as much? No. And it doesn't, again, because you're not at 10,000 psi, the shape of your tank can be different too. So it's different packaging. So that's why I think it's such a focus for some of these green things, and we associate efficiency with being green, but I don't think that's the whole story. I think partly it's just a design limit for them. Um, 1 second, I just want to talk. People will talk. I hear comments about, oh, isn't ammonia possibly dangerous? Yeah, Yeah, like it's not crazy dangerous, but yeah, it can hurt you. Um, but the hydrogen tanks that they're talking about, the hydrogen tanks that are on the market in a Toyota vehicle. Well, remember that sub going down to look at the Titanic, the Titan sub that just smushed all those people in a microsecond? That was at 5,800 psi. A hydrogen tank in a Toyota is 10,000 psi. It's like a bomb. It's an incredible amount of pressure. And if that ever failed, boom, right? So as you're fueling that car, that nozzle is 10,000 psi. All of the handling of this, and it's explosive. It's hydrogen, right? So when people say, "Oh, yeah, we want to use hydrogen instead of ammonia for safety," I don't think they've actually thought through what safety means. And, and of course, you know, resources, right? Resources always matter. If you can get green energy and make it fuel with it versus filling up batteries, yes, in our analysis, the EVs were the most efficient, right? But it's also, I think some of that efficiency is wiped away when you look at the weight of the vehicle, for example. A Tesla is quite a bit heavier than the hydrogen Toyota, quite a bit. And the reason for that is the Toyota has an EV motor, sorry, a hybrid motor in it, which is 100 pounds, whereas the Tesla battery is like 1,400 pounds. And so your efficiency has partly to do with like how much mass you're accelerating, right? So I think really we get to very, very similar numbers, but the resource intensity of pure EVs is huge. It's huge versus green fuels, right? So I guess I just want to close with this notion. If you use a solar array to heat a pool, it's green, right? So if you keep the pool a little bit warm because that's the way you like it, does it matter? Like, if you have a totally green supply chain, does efficiency matter? Like, does conservation matter in the same way if it's all green? So I think the killer number really is it green rather than the marginal efficiency of this versus that. And that's why I think, and I'm very positive about this notion of green ammonia. It's easy to handle, it's green, it works in vehicles, the tech works, it's all available. So there you go. All right. Have a good weekend.